What's up, guys? Chris here. Joining me today for yet another of the coaches' interviews is another one of the new guys. This is the newest of the new guys. No GBA experience whatsoever. I never even heard of the guy before this, but now I've heard of the guy, and he's here, and you're not only going to hear of the guy, but you're going to hear the guy as he talks. It's Dan, Adrive. Say hey, man.
What's going on, baby? How you doing, man?
Doing all right. All right, what do you want to go by? I don't even know what the, what do you want to be referred to as?
Future Rookie of the Year.
Future rookie
I
of
think
the
that's a
year.
good starting point.
You don't want to be the best rookie this year. You want to be the rookie of the year next year.
No, no, no. I'll get the award for Rookie of the Year at the end of the season. That's what I'm going for.
Okay, well
So I got a 25% chance, right?
that's yeah. I mean,
It's almost a coin flip.
yeah. That's like two coin flips, I guess.
Yeah, I would say
even then,
so.
it's statistically not even that. But
We're getting there. So
Yeah.
I'll flip some coins and we'll see where we land. That's what I'm going for. But
that's it.
no, Dan, aka Adrive, Dan. Dan's fine for the purpose of this. I think that's cool. But I'm the coach of the St. Louis Rampardos.
Yep, he does that. He's that team.
That's my team, and I don't have Rampardos on my team, but that's our mascot.
You
so.
know, historically in the GBA, mascot picks terrible.
I was gonna draft them. I was really close. I was
Oh.
like, I could throw a scarf on this bad boy, and that base 165 attack or whatever it is
Yeah.
will hopefully wreck some souls. But
You know,
I decided
a
against
lot
it.
of people have gone with mascot picks before, never do good. Not on a single team. They'll do good on other teams. If someone else drafts Rampardos, it'll be viable and useful. If you draft it, probably going to be poop.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be like the Green Bay Greninjas or something, and I'll be good.
Yeah,
I'll be fine.
That'd be a much easier mascot to work with.
They're like I don't know, the Minnesota Mega Gengars.
Yeah,
I think we'll be all right.
that might carry you through a little bit of the season before everyone runs shed shell on everything. But all right, so you're totally new to this. You're the GBA, at least you've been doing YouTube for a little bit. You did old school, you were telling me before, and now you're back doing it new school again. But so who are you? What do you do? Because everybody else has some GBA reference, whether it be the last season or the D League, so we can kind of refer to them as that. But you're pretty much a blank slate. So tell the GBA people who you are, what you do, what you are about.
Cool. So kind of just going quick step back. I was originally a Call of Duty player, sniper for a number of different teams, including the Darth Empire, Third Eye Sniping, and now Team Caliber, which is a professional Call of Duty team. So I was picked up by them as a sniper, and I was doing that for the good portion of 2014. And over the summer, I just one day decided that I was going to stream some Pokemon. I was doing like a Nuzlocke on Twitch with my webcam. And all of a sudden, I became a Pokemon content provider right after that. Like, it kind of blew up. I had some pretty good fortune in terms of my Twitch stream, and that took off in terms of being a shiny hunter and an NU battler and stuff like that. So so that from there, I became like this Pokemon YouTuber. I revived my YouTube career, essentially, I guess you could say, if there's anything to revive. And I stream a ton on Twitch now. I'm streaming some Pokemon stuff, and I'm pretty much only doing Pokemon now. I kind of stepped away from the Call of Duty. But I've been doing competitive battling since probably 2009, 2010 myself, mostly in the NU tier. I've dabbled in other tiers, but I've always just kind of gravitated towards NU, no matter what generation it was. I mean, I was telling some other people that I used to do Pokemon Online, the ladder there, long time ago, and then kind of migrated over to Showdown, when Smogon kind of got that running and stuff. So I've always done competitive, and I feel really comfortable in the NU tier specifically. Like I said, I've always just focused on it. I don't know why. I just kind of like using different mons and not seeing the overpowered Pokemon. I don't really like legendaries myself, so like I've always just kind of done that. So, and I would consider myself to be a pretty good NU battler. I'm sure there's people out there who could wipe the floor with me, but I think that experience was kind of like my advantage coming into this draft. But you'll see with my team, I didn't really use any of that to my advantage.
Yeah,
I didn't actually draft any lower tier Pokemon.
That's absolutely gonna be a question when we get to that. All right, so how'd you hear about the GBA? What's
So so basically through my Twitch streaming, being a new guy into the Pokemon community and wanting to grow and wanting to meet people and stuff like that. Like, I had always watched Pokemon myself, so I've always watched guys like Hayden, and I've always watched battles, and Pyrotos is one of my personal favorites. I've always watched on YouTube for years now, and I wanted to make the content myself, but I never met any of these people. So my tactic to meet these people was to just raid them on Twitch. I had some success, so I could send them a few hundred viewers, and maybe they'll want to be friends with me. That was kind of my thought process, and it worked out for Steve and I. Um, that's
Nice.
how I met. That's how I met Steve. So I kind of did it that way, and then we were talking on Twitter. All of a sudden, we find out we live like a half hour from each other, and he brings up the GBA to me. I hadn't heard of it at the time, and I was like, wow, that's a really cool idea. And we were trying to figure out whether there was going to be a slot or not, and we made it work. So that's kind of how that happened. But when I heard about the league, I thought it was awesome. I saw there was a couple, a lot of really good battlers in the league already, and it seemed like it was a pretty cool thing. And I felt like I could add something new to the league and also have a lot of fun, meet some more people in the community and stuff, which is kind of my goal in the first place, and really see if I'm any good, which we'll find out, I guess, right?
It's a weird format to get used to. There's definitely a learning curve to it. People that come in and have certain sets of skills don't necessarily flourish. Same thing with like team design and stuff like that. I mean, we've seen people draft monsters of teams and just, not perform because it's more about versatility and limiting redundancy and kind of things like that than a lot of normal team building. Um, but that's all stuff you may or may not figure out as your season goes. Who knows?
Find out, yeah.
So
When I'm at the bottom of the leaderboards at the end of the season, we'll have another conversation.
yeah. Then it'll be the what did you learn rookie of the year? And
Yeah.
nah. So that being said, you were an expansion team. You came in. We did the separate expansion draft. So there were two teams worth of things in reserve that total about 22 Pokemon, or 20 Pokemon, but not all of them are great. There's probably about 8 to 10 top tier kind of things. And then, you guys were kind of sent off to scrounge in the dregs of the draft pool.
Correct.
So going off of that, first question straight off the bat, how do you feel about your draft overall? Happy with it? Good with it? A little nervous? Where are we at?
I'm actually very happy with my draft. Like you said, it's kind of hard to gauge how the league is being a newcomer because you don't really know what to expect. It's a different format than just jumping on Showdown or jumping in a random Wi-Fi battle. Like you know what your opponent's going to bring, or you know what their pool of Pokemon to bring are, and they know what you have. So it's a different format entirely, right? So it's way different than NU where I just know what the top tier threats are, or OU or whatever it is. So it's a completely different format, and it's going to take some getting used to, I'm sure. But looking at my team, I feel pretty comfortable with it. I was actually pretty surprised I was able to walk away with the team that I have, especially considering that when I saw the draft pool that the expansion teams had in front of them, I wasn't exactly all that pleased. Not anything against the league or anyone's particular, but I was just a little bit frustrated because I was more so thinking it wasn't exactly fair. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like I'm just glad I'm a part of this, situation, this organization, this opportunity to play with a bunch of guys, and I'm sure if I stick around for a few more seasons, which is hopefully the case, I'll have an opportunity to pick up some different mons. But after the draft, like I looked at my team and I look at my team right in front of me now, and I'm like, wow, I got some pretty good Pokemon. So it really wasn't all that bad. And like, I mean, you can see the pictures on the screen and stuff like that. I mean, I got Pokemon like Cloyster as my last pick. Like that's insane to me. I never would have thought I'd pick up a Pokemon. Like I consider Cloyster to be a pretty top tier, maybe not a top tier, but like a second tier threat.
It's
It's
really
a good
good.
Pokemon.
Yeah,
So
and it's really versatile too. Cooper had it on the Utah Jasmine last season, and it caught a lot of people off guard because you can just run defensive a couple of weeks, then sneak in a Scarf set there or a Shell Smash or whatever. You can
and that was
really
kind of my
mix it up. Yeah.
That was kind of my thought process during the draft, kind of just making the most of the mons that I could pick and trying to pick the things that I thought were going to be the most versatile that I can run a number of different sets with to keep my opponent guessing because I feel like that's going to be a key advantage. You know what I mean? Like if you have a mon that's pretty one-dimensional, I feel like it's pretty straightforward that you know what they're going to run. But I feel like I drafted a good amount of Pokemon that allows me to get some flexibility with my team and run some different sets and run some unique sets, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. Generally, that the rule is you either want versatility, jack of all trades, or you want one thing that does the one thing it does the best.
Yeah.
Like there's no question that picking up something like a Mega Pinsir is really good as your Mega pick because while you don't have variety in Mega Pinsir, it's still a Mega Pinsir and it punches holes through virtually everything.
Yeah.
Or you can go with something like, like you said, like you got Cloyster. You can do so much with a Cloyster. It's it's mind-boggling the variety of things you can run. Same thing with another one of your picks like Garchomp. Garchomp has a lot of versatility and utility, and you know, you can do some cool things with that. So did you come in with like a strong kind of draft plan, or were you playing it kind of fast and loose and seeing what was around and just kind of building it piece by piece?
I would say I created a list of the available Pokemon that I found to be interesting. Like I cut a lot of the list, the whole draft pick down. You know, I wasn't going to draft Love-Disc or Furret.
Yeah.
So I put the Pokemon aside that I thought that I'd be interested in, and really I took it round by round. Like I knew I had the second pick in the expansion draft, so I knew I was either Thundurus or Latios. That's what it came down to. I mean, to me there wasn't Lucario and Infernape were kind of close third and fourth, but I feel like the top two I couldn't pass on Latios or Thundurus if I had the opportunity. I believe it was Thundurus.
Yeah, it was Thunders.
So first pick goes, and then I just got Latios, and I just kind of built my team off of that. Like, would I have drafted a Pokemon like Registeel if I hadn't picked Latios and Garchomp prior? Definitely not, but I felt like I needed to get some sort of one Fairy Check, two, something that could take ice moves. So I was just trying to kind of base off like one pick after the other, and I had my sights set on some Pokemon for later rounds, but you'll see like picks like Espeon and stuff like that are really kind of designed to help out and kind of deter people from wanting to use Hazard so I can get Charizard in. You know, kind of same feeling with like Ninetales, and I have like a pseudo Sun team going on. So as soon as like I don't want to say I like had this concrete idea of what I was going to build. I did take it round by round, but as I started to get towards like that Ninetales pick, I started really forecasting what I was able to grab, and I really started making some, I guess, some good guesses on what would be available, and it ended up working out. I was pretty happy with what I ended up getting.
So you don't feel like anybody really sniped out your pseudo plan there? Like you pretty much, you had a pretty straight vision of your path through the woods and no trees really fell in your way?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there was maybe one or two mons that I was thinking of trying to grab like later in the game. Like Weezing was one that sticks out of my mind
Yeah.
as kind of a combination with Blissey. I felt like that would have been really good. And another mon I really wanted to get late in the game was Ursaring, because I know how much power that guy has. But I ended up picking Cloyster instead because I couldn't let it sit on the board. That was too tempting. But once, like I said, once I got to that Ninetales pick, I saw the potential for a Sun team on my team. I figured no one grabbed Charizard Y in the Mega Draft unless I ended up way at the bottom, because it can function on a lot of different teams, but it really does best fit in with some sort of a Sun support and Pokemon that kind of complement that. So once I grabbed the Ninetales, I looked at the draft. I was like, no one's going to grab Venusaur. If I get Venusaur, I'm cruising, because those two alone can actually do some work together. And that gives me like a pretty decent core, and I can go from there. And like that's kind of what also pushed my decision for Cloyster at the end, because I felt like it kind of like a good Sun team has like Mamoswine on it and stuff. So I felt like Cloyster was kind of like a substitute for that, I guess.
Yeah, it's a pretty fair, alternate. But so you mentioned, some stuff you had your eye on, like Ursaring and things like that, and you say you're the low tier guy. This isn't a low tier team. Like your lowest tier thing is Clawitzer. So what happened? You just got you did the competitiveness get to you, and you were like, nah, we're going to play, or
so I definitely had a lot of pokes on my list of like lower tier stuff that I could see being effective. Like Vileplume is another one. There was a lot of things. Vileplume is actually a pretty good pickup. I'm not sure who grabbed him, but that's a really
Adam,
good mon.
the Mighty Ducklets, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really good mon, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see Vileplume do something pretty big this season, because it's a good Pokemon, pretty good typing, and has a lot of things it could do from a defensive standpoint. But I had planned on drafting some lower tier stuff, but it was like when I looked at the board and I looked at what the threats were going to be, what I figured they would be, and like when I started building the team out, it just made sense to grab the guys I got. The tiering system for Smogon is based upon mostly usage, which doesn't mean lower tier Pokemon are necessarily bad. Like Ursaring can hold its own on a lot of different tiers. It's a really good Pokemon.
Yeah, it's just not as popular, or it doesn't fit into the current meta, whatever that is for the thing,
Yeah, so taking that into account, I kind of was just like, you know what? I mean, realistically, usage is based, like people use Pokemon because they're typically good in many cases. So I did kind of fall in line with that, and I ended up picking higher tier stuff, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's going to be too big of a learning curve, because I'm pretty experienced with Pokemon battling in general. I'm going to say this, and I'm not making any guarantees that I'm going to do good, but I do feel like I ended up with a pretty good team, despite the fact that I didn't really use any of my lower tier expertise. But there was a lot of Pokemon that were drafted that were lower tier mons that were really good. I know Miss Magius was picked up at one point.
Yep.
So relatively early too, I would say like towards the middle of the expansion draft. So there's like a lot of good Pokemon, and I definitely have my eye on them in the future, possibly free agent later. But for the time being, I was pretty happy with getting some higher tier Pokemon and making them work. I just felt like they were too versatile and their base stat totals were a little bit higher than some of the other stuff I could have grabbed. So I typically tried to lean towards that.
That's a pretty solid, idea, especially because you guys did have such a limited pool. You do kind of want to stock up on things. If nothing else, high base stat totals are going to be appealing to other people, so you do get like trade asset kind of things
Yep.
going on. So that's another thing. Like some of the teams, are already working out trades. Most of the, well, all three of the other expansion teams came out of the D League, and D League had no trades because they worked out of a separate pool, so they all got spoiled with really good stuff. So none of them needed to trade in their original season. Now that they're here, they're with you in the normal expansion pool, and things are a little bit rougher. But we've already seen some of them hunting and shopping around. We've also heard from some of them, and we will hear from some of them who are of the opinion that they built their team for a specific reason, and they can't afford to trade any of their components out. How are you going to approach trades and stuff like that? Like, how do you feel your team is? Like, did you try and draft with some flexibility where you can move some pieces around, or do you feel like it's really kind of a concrete team and you need every cog in the machine where it is?
I think there's definitely some expendable parts, and there's some things I could do if it makes sense. Like I would love to pick up a Pokemon like Sylveon or another fairy type Pokemon just for the typing alone.
Yeah.
But when I started building this team out, I wanted to be able to like have a number of different Pokemon. Blissey, I think, is a prime example that I have to force my opponent to prepare for, but their preparation is actually going to hopefully become my advantage when I don't use Blissey that week. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
was kind of my thought process. I wanted to be able to have my opponent prepare for a Sun team, and then I don't bring a Sun team.
Hmm.
Things like that, and the opposite, obviously. So I felt like with that being the case, I'm pretty happy with my team, and I've had a couple opportunities to do some trades, and people are going after Latios quite heavily. But
Yeah.
I just don't.
It's your big hitter, man. It's your first rounder.
So I just don't think I want to make any moves. I don't foresee myself making any moves. One, because I still want to kind of feel out the league. It's my first season, and I
Yeah.
want to kind of see what it's like and stuff like that. I don't want to lose a Pokemon like Latios, which is known to be a really good, versatile Pokemon that carries Defog, which is very, very good, but can also hit like a truck. So I don't
Yeah.
want to lose a Pokemon like that early in the game and get it for a first-round pick next year when then it's up to chance that I might not get something as good, whereas I have Latios for 3 seasons right now, right? So
Yeah.
at least I have something to build my team around, and I have a good mon that's basically gives me a decent foundation if case this season goes awry or whatever it may be. So I think I'm pretty solid and concrete in the team I have now. I do plan on keeping it intact, and I like the team I got. I think it's pretty versatile. There's a couple different things I could do, and I could give a lot of different looks. I really try to draft Pokemon that I felt could do a lot of different things like we were talking about before. Even Pokemon like Registeel, I mean, you could run especially defensive, physically defensive, Stealth Rocker, Thunder Wave. You can even run an offensive set if you wanted to, if you're facing like a Talonflame or something. So there's some opportunities there that I think this team kind of grants me, and I hope to take advantage of that this season.
Nice. So, that being said, heading into the season, you are in the Johto Gold Division. You're in there with John, who was last season's runner-up, second place. Tom, who is another team that made it to the playoffs, got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs, but still he made it to the playoffs. Steve, who is the guy who had the worst record in the league the first season and improved tremendously in the fourth season, was in playoff contention for quite a while. And then you. How you feel about that division?
I mean, I feel pretty good. Unfortunately, like I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I don't really know as many of the people as I'd like to know, and hearing that this person's in my division, this person's in my division, like, and even if they did good in the past seasons, I feel like to me it's a clean slate. This is the start of the GBA for me, and I'm going into it with an open mind, and we'll see what happens. Like it's tough to know how good you are and how you're gonna benchmark up against people when you're not used to using these different mons and stuff like that. I mean, I definitely have a pretty distinct battling style, and it might grant itself or work out really well in the GBA, or I might get thrashed and I'll have to figure something else out.
That's very true, and the other flip side of that is the other people aren't going to be used to fighting you. they're gonna go in expecting it to be like the other new people they fought or whatever, and you could end up being the guy that has all their numbers,
Yeah,
just
I
because
definitely have
of
the element of
local.
surprise, and I mean, I do have the ability to go back and watch some of their gameplays and kind of see, whether Steve is someone who's going to be a heavy switcher or kind of try to make some bold predictions when he has to, like that kind of stuff. I mean, there's definitely different play styles, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't want to, kind of give up too much of how I play, but
Yeah, nah, don't throw
for
your hand
for
too
the
early.
sake of having a competitive advantage, because I'm probably going to need every advantage I have here. But no, I think there's a lot of cool players in this league, not only in my division but in all the divisions. I think everyone is going to bring something really cool to the table. I think it's going to be an awesome season. I'm super excited to play. We haven't had schedules yet, I don't think, but
Yeah, no, the schedule isn't out yet, but that being said, is there anybody you're kind of wanting to play, looking forward to playing?
oh yeah, I want to destroy Steve. That's like my goal. We had one Wi-Fi battle so far, and he brought a Trick Room team and NU with Mega Camera up and kind of destroyed my life at the end. So I really want to
Well,
just want to like
he
destroy
is
him.
in your division, so I think the way the schedule is going to work out, you'll play him twice throughout the season.
Yeah, I plan on beating him twice. So Steve, if you watch this, I'm just letting you know I'm going to be bringing the Sun team really hard, or I'm not going to bring it at all, and you're going to be confused, and it's going to be great. And I'm going to beat
Nice.
you. I'm going to sweep
Nice.
with Garchomp at the end, just so you know.
Yeah, sweep with Garchomp and run sneaky Bizarro Trick Room team as well, just
Oh
to
yeah.
mess with his head. Trick Room
I'm running
Cloyster.
physical Mega Charizard Y, so be ready.
He will not be ready for that. Actually, if
Dragon
there's
Dance Flare Blitz.
if there's anyone that might be ready for that, it might be Steve, because that's the kind of set he would run. So
Oh my
yeah.
god, that'd be so funny. Bringing Dragon Dance. What I think it gets Flare Blitz, right? Dragon Dance,
Yeah, it
Flare
gets Flare
Blitz,
Blitz, yeah.
Thunder Punch, and Roost or something. It's game time.
All right, so that being said, you probably won't have an answer for this one, but it's been customary to ask at this point. Is there anybody you're not looking forward to playing, either because you're, aware of their reputation and they're a little bit scary, or you're aware of the way they battle and it's not a strategy or style you typically match up well against, or anything like that, or still kind of new enough ground for you that you don't have a list of people to avoid yet?
What's Swagalif's team?
That's the Pittsburgh Steelix.
Yeah, I
That's
don't even know what's on his team, but I could just tell you I don't want to play him. Um,
well,
I
you
don't know what
will
it is
play
about
him
that guy.
at least
He's-
once probably.
He's got some serious swagger about him. I don't know what it is, but that alone intimidates me. I feel like he's the kind of person who would just 6-0 me and ask me like when the warm-ups were over.
He would
You
do
know,
that. That's actually accurate.
and I don't really know him that well, and I haven't, I've heard of him in the past and whatever else, and I haven't watched too many of his battles, but just the way he comes off, he just has like this, I don't want to say attitude, because I feel like attitude has a negative connotation. I don't mean that he's a mean person or
Nah,
moody or whatever.
Joe's
But
a
he,
confident man.
I guess swagger might be the way to put it. I think he's just got this weird swagger about him that is hard to convey over the internet, but somehow he does it, and it's like mildly intimidating. I feel like he's just gonna thrash me, and it's gonna be really interesting. But I'll definitely bring some crazy stuff if I ever play him. Like I'm gonna probably bring things that no one's ever seen before. I don't know. We'll run some really strange sets.
Joe's a really great guy, and he might thrash you, but he'll also be a guy who will, if you want to, he'll tell you what you did wrong, or what he thought you were gonna do. Like he's one of the people in the league who genuinely wants good battles. Like that's why he's here, is to have good battles with people. So if there's things he can do to help other people be better, he will.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. See, I'm like the opposite, man. I go up against a team on Showdown, and they're bringing like Vileplume, Girder, and Seismitoad. I'm like, God damn it! I want to face these threats every time. Like, stop. But no, that's good. That's really good. Like I said, I'm sure he's a great guy, and I'm excited to battle him. I'm sure it'll be pretty competitive. Hopefully, maybe not, but like I said, he better be ready for some crazy sets, man. I'm talking physically attacking Blissey. Like it's coming. I don't think they're ready for this.
Well, just make sure you temper the insanity and variety with, good logic and
Practicality.
backing up calcs. Because I mean, I'm gonna tell you, last season, Fizzy Stardust drafted Mega Aggron as his Mega, and we spent a long time talking about Special Aggron because it's got a great special move pool, but there's just no way to make it work.
Yeah.
It's
No, I
just,
plan on running a ton of calcs.
yeah,
Like, I definitely think that that's going to be the way to win, and I plan on doing all sorts of good stuff, speed edging and all sorts of fun stuff. It's going to be great.
nice.
It's probably not going to work, but it's going to be great.
I mean, that's what a lot of people do. That's what you have to do. It's really a game about counter teaming, just because you are able to week look up their other roster and plan specifically for things. So, speed creep is not only viable, but most of the time it's recommended. You want to make sure you have the fastest thing out there so that they don't have the fastest thing out there, because speed's such a huge part of just battling in general and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm just going to run Espeon Trick Room the whole time. Never mind.
Do it.
Does Ninetales get Trick Room? If it does, we're good.
It probably does, actually. I feel like that's a move it would get, because it gets all those weird
Yeah, it's like Psychic, Psyshock, and stuff. I don't know if it gets
Yeah.
Trick Room, but Latios does. I'll run everything in minus speed nature, 0 IVs, and I'll have the slowest Garchomp ever seen, and we'll be good to go.
I mean, Garchomp can work in it. It's feasible. It's not...
Yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty staggering when you look at, despite how high some of these base stat totals are, or the speed base stat is, when you put them at 0 IVs and a negative speed nature,
Oh, yeah,
like
it
their
drops.
speed is low. Like you start out slowing things like, like Weedles and stuff.
Yeah, you're like, why did that Moongus go before me? Oh, okay. He's running 8 speed IVs to creep
Yeah.
slow bros. So I can help speed him now.
Yeah, that's funny.
But I think that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for joining me. This was really good. It was good to get to know you. I really like your attitude and approach to the league and everything like that. I think you're going to have fun regardless of how you do. But from the sounds of it, I think you've got a good game plan, and you'll probably do pretty well.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I think my expectations aren't anything too spectacular. I'm looking to have fun and hopefully provide some good comment for you guys, or content. I'm sorry, content for you guys on the GBA channel and on my own channel and stuff like that. And I think it should be a good time, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And like I said, like the big thing for me was just to get to know everyone and get more involved in the battling community, because being a shiny hunter, everyone thinks I just find shiny Pokemon, which is great because I do. But I also have like a battling background, and I really enjoy doing competitive battling. So it'd be kind of nice to channel that and get a little bit more serious with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you enjoyed Dan, you should absolutely go find his link in the description. Check out his other battles and his shiny hunting videos, because maybe you're into that stuff too. He streams like all the time. He's going to be a super big shot Lumiose man soon, and everybody's going to know him, and he's going to have like hashtag Adrive people and all kinds of weird stuff like that, because that's what you do when you blow up and you're a big Lumiose deal.
We'll see what happens, man. But I'm hopeful. Cautiously optimistic is the term I like to use.
Yeah, so this is you guys' chance to get in on the ground floor of another one of those big shots. It's kind of a thing this season. We got a couple of them. So check them out and check Dan out. Thank you guys for watching. Leave comments, likes, and we will be back tomorrow for more coaches videos. Thank you. Later.
Peace.